Okay. So, what do you think is the definition of child marriage?
I think that child marriage is when a child's parents force them to get married when they don't want to be married and at a very young age.
UNICEF defines it as formal marriage or informal union before the age of 18 and is often not the choice of the child but a result of a series of societal circumstances. My next question is, would you say that it's a tradition that's dying out, or do you think it's still prevalent?
Well, it's not something that you really hear about every day, so I'm not sure, but I'm going to go with maybe it's not as big of a thing as it used to be.
Actually, around the world, about 15 million girls are forced to marry before the legal age of 18. That's one little girl married every 2 seconds.
Child marriage is a pandemic misfortune that spans over 50 countries within the world. Despite some marriage laws that ensue girls must be 18 or older, families disregard these rules in order to cure their family's personal disadvantages. Of these areas, India has the highest number of child brides in the world. These demographics compose nearly 50% of young women within India, majority of which are married by their 15th birthday. There are several drivers behind this epidemic, which has serious negative implications for the young girls. The Indian men that are accepting children as their brides tend to be violent and manipulative. Over the last few decades, several organizations and initiatives have begun to address the problem of child marriage, and thankfully, steps are being taken to give these young girls hope for a promising future.
So what do you think are the problems that drive families to enter their children into child marriage?
I can't imagine ever an issue that's big enough that you would give your kid away for marriage, especially like in America. I guess in other countries, I would think it's more prevalent where they're in a bind and money and things are really different with the law. But here, I can't even imagine that.
Many families believe that child marriage is protecting their daughters. They believe it teaches obedience and will protect them from sexual violence, but in most cases it does just the opposite. It is also known that as a child gets older, it will only get harder and more expensive for families to marry off their daughters. Most cultures don't see the harm in child marriage because it has been a tradition they have seen for centuries. This is the norm in the Indian culture for most, and that is why traditional systems is one of the highest reasons for child marriage. Often it is the poorest families of countries who are faced with the situation of having to marry off their daughters. I was really in need of money and thought it was a solution for my family, said a father in India who was forced to marry his daughter away in order to provide for the rest of his family. The percentage of marriages decreases as the wealth of families increase. Most girls are scared when they are told by their parents that they have to get married at young ages. As this 13-year-old Indian girl said, she didn't even know what being married meant and entailed.
What kind of harm do you think happens during child marriages?
Do you mean like the child marriages that happen when the kings used to marry those 12-year-olds?
No, child marriage that still happens today.
I didn't even know it still happened.
Child marriage is an undeniable presence in India, and with that comes consequences to the young girls involved. There has been 1.3 million deaths in children under the age of 5 as of 2013, accounting for 1/5 of the global child mortality. New research has shown that nearly 1 out of 10 children's deaths in India occur under the age of 1 and are attributed to domestic violence against their mothers during marriage. Indian marriages are typically viewed as a private affair, much like they did before the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act was enacted in 2005. Before this law, there was little legal action taken for the victims of the domestic violence. Even to this day, marital rape is not covered in the act. Young girls under the age of 15 have been recognized in the census of an early pregnancy of 20%. 20% of these girls, otherwise recognized as 300,000, have already given birth to one child. Of these 15 girls, they have become 5 times more likely to die during the pregnancy than girls in their 20s.
Do you think that marital rape in youth marriages in India is illegal?
Yes, I really hope so.
Many people believe marital rape in India is illegal. This, however, is not the case. For adult women, their husband and rapist can only be penalized if the husband and wife are separated. Marital rape is also not illegal even if the wife is under the legal age of 18. Indian law only recognizes marital rape in girls under the age of 15, but even a rape of a 12-year-old girl will result in a far less severe punishment for the rapist if the two are married. Not many people believe child marriage still exists in the world. However, in Sen's research on marriage in India, almost half of the girls were married before the age of 16. According to the article, the practice of child marriage contributes to a widespread experience of sexual abuse. It is, in effect, the socially legitimized institutionalization of marital rape, the rape of sometimes very young girls. Sen's research showed that this institutionalization of marital rape led to a high rate of vulnerability to sexual abuse in marriage in the group married under the age of 16. One of the main issues that leads to marital rape in child marriages is the belief that once girls start their period, there is a free license for sex. Because of this, many girls who were married before the age of 16 reported forced sex before menstruation. In 80% of these cases, the girls' husbands were continued intercourse even after it was made clear that it was unwanted. These girls are unable to discuss the abuse they suffer through because they did not learn the vocabulary which would enable them to talk about it. This lack of education denies the girls access to support and increases the likelihood for them to separate from their husband and rapist. However, separation from their husband for any reason will result in the girls becoming social outcasts. In order for these girls to receive the help they need, many activists have been attempting to stop child marriages altogether.
What do you think of child marriage?
Well, I mean, obviously it's awful. I mean, kids are being forced into these things and they don't have any say in the matter, and then they're forced to do all these terrible things. Like, I'm done. Soundbite.
Do you think anything is being done about child marriage?
I mean, if there is, we don't know about it. You don't hear anything about that.
Do you think things need to be done about child marriage?
Absolutely. Definitely.
The Knowledge Hub on child marriage is an Indian website that provides reliable information about child marriage. There can be a lot of misinformation out there, and this website attempts to combat that. Having accurate information is especially important for people like us who don't see and experience child marriage on a daily basis, so we can easily fall victim to misinformation. Apni Biti Apna Dan, which translates to Our Daughters, Our Wealth, is a program that the Indian state Haryana started to help eradicate child marriage. The program promises that for every girl born to an enrolled family will receive about the equivalent to $400 under the condition that she remain unmarried until she is at least 18. One of the specific goals of this program is to change the culture's view of girls from a burden to an asset. As you can see on this infographic, the program has lasting effects. Now that the girls are pledged to remain unmarried until the age of 18, they have more and higher quality education. This helps them obtain more secure employment and a stronger voice within the culture.